Hi everyone, Ryan in the future. This episode of Life in the Movies was filmed last week, and as I detail in the episode, my internet has been just going all kinds of whack. It's a lot better now, but I've been having just a hell of a time uploading this episode. Actually, I wanted to upload it the night that Jacob and I recorded this, thinking I had enough internet to get me across the finish line. Well, when I went to bed, it was at 4% uploaded, and when I got up in the morning, it was at a whole 6%. And I've been trying, and it's just not been working out for me. However, I think now the episode, if you're watching this, it should be up now. So I want to apologize for the delay. It's on me. That's my fault. My internet has just been going all kinds of kooky, but it should be up now. You are watching this, so I hope that you all enjoy Life in the Movies this week. And this coming week, when Jacob returns back from vacation, we will be recording and we will be doing the September preview, and I am very much looking forward to that. But with that out of the way, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Life in the Movies. It's Wednesday, and you all know what that means. It's time for the... Wait. Something's wrong here. Oh, wait. It's Thursday, and you all know what that means, I think. It's time for another episode of the Life in the Movies podcast. This feels really weird. So I guess I should address the elephant in the room. There was no regular podcast episode at 12:15 on Wednesday like I always do it because, well, long story short, lightning strike struck the tree outside of my house and killed the internet for about myself and like the 5 or 6 houses next door to me, which is why I recorded videos in my car and just did it how I had to do it. I appreciate all of your patience, and I appreciate Jacob's patience. This is going to be a bit of a more stripped down episode than normal. Internet may still be on a bit of a fritz, but I'm hoping and crossing all my fingers and toes that my problems will be in the rear view by the weekend. But anyway, I'm here now. I'm with Jacob. Things are automatically better. So, Jacob, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm sorry to hear about all the problems you've had over in your area. I know it's been, I guess, pretty sucky the last couple of days, but sounds like you've been in good spirits during that time. You still even got some videos up and working around that situation. So I'm glad you're doing all right. It's an interesting time for me too because I'm actually this video is dropping Thursday, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So he said yes. The Friday tomorrow, I'm actually gonna leave and go out of town for an extended week for a vacation, and so we won't be doing a new episode next week. So I guess this is gonna be like a more of a lighthearted breather type episode, more of a casual one where we just talk about random movies and of course our Jessica Jones coverage. But it's it's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, Lighthearted and Jessica Jones season 1 episode 7 are two things that do not go together. But yeah,
No.
this will be definitely a quieter episode, and like Jacob mentioned, he's going to be going out of town, so there will be no episode next week. However, we will be bringing it back full force 2 Wednesdays from now, and I believe we will be in striking distance of doing the September preview. So there will be a big episode dropping on the other side of this. So thank you all so much for tuning in as always. And we'll be taking a bit of a break after this episode, but we will be returning full regalia, in the words of Big Daddy from Django Unchained, but not in the context I hope people take that under. But anyway, um, so not just a bit of life stuff, like I said, internet issues, but on top of that, the lightning strike pretty much fried the computer in my car. The car technically runs. I can't use the power steering. I can't use pretty much anything in it really. It's just Like if you get it down a hill, it's just going down the hill and you can't stop it. So it's currently in the shop right now. When this video drops, then or this podcast drops, then I should be able to get it out of the shop and it should be running just fine. But oh boy, and like you said, in good spirits and all that, to be completely honest, I kind of was freaking out a bit because it's one of those situations where you don't really realize how important the internet really is to you until it's gone. And then you're just sitting there like, you know what, I can handle this. This is fine. And in reality, you really can't. And so that's what it was like for me personally. I kind of got a little angry because of the whole situation, but I mean, it was the equivalent of yelling at a brick wall. It's not going to accomplish anything, and I just look really stupid while doing it. So I've gotten it out of my system. I've accepted how it is, and just keep calm and carry on and all of that.
Yeah, good to hear. I know in these situations it can be very stressful. I bet if I was in that situation, I would have freaked out because lightning is not one of my favorite things to witness. I freak out when I see lightning, so even inside where it's safe, if I see it, it's get a little uncomfortable. So at least you're all right.
Yeah, I've lived through several hurricanes, so lightning, in a general sense, doesn't bother me all that much. But then when this happened, it was like, oh wow, I should have been afraid this whole time. But like I said, on the more positive side, I alluded to something happening in my professional life outside of this channel I that I had been doing an interview for, but I didn't want to get ahead of myself. Well, I can officially confirm that I have a new job. Put in my 2 weeks at my current job. I'll be working in my local library, starting in circulation, and then working my way up with by the grace of God and all of that. I also plan on going for my Master's of Library Sciences, is which is something that when I first heard about it, I was like, I'm not sure if I want to do that. But then the more I thought about it, the more I just really wanted to do it. So a lot of positive and very many things to be looking forward to in my professional life, and I am incredibly, incredibly grateful for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations on your new job, and I hope everything works well for you in this position.
Yeah, I certainly hope so as well. Uh, I don't want it to be just all about me, just having a moan. So, Jacob, you have anything you'd like to add? I mean, where are you going on vacation? It sounds like
Oh,
fun.
on vacation, I'm actually going to Sevierville, Tennessee, which is the city away from Pigeon Forge. Fun fact, it's actually Dolly Parton's hometown, if you're a fan of her. And I'm actually going to a convention called Polishing the Pulpit. It's a religious convention. A bunch of Christians will go to this convention where there's a lot of classes and sermons and other things. There's some classes designed for preachers, others designed for the average Joes like you and me who aren't preachers or anything like that. There's others designed for youth and others designed for women. It's actually a really cool event that I think designed to help you grow stronger in faith. This is the second time I have gone to Polishing the Pulpit. The first time was in 2019. They haven't done it the past couple of years for obvious reasons with the pandemic and everything. So this is the first big in-person event since 2019. I am very excited and going to this event, growing stronger in faith and meeting new people along the way.
That sounds great. I've never really been to something like that. I remember being a part of my youth group until after high school, and one of the big things that we always did every year was go to this concert called Night of Joy. I don't know if any of you out there or Jacob have heard of it, but every year, but they sadly don't do it anymore. But every year at Disney World, at the Magic Kingdom, they would invite like Mercy Me and Chris Tomlin and a bunch of Christian rock artists for a night called Night of Joy. And at around 6 or 7, they would close down Magic Kingdom, and for the rest of the night, it would just be all these, like, I don't want to say churchy people, but faith-based people, priests and Catholics and Methodists and non-denominational and all of these other folks coming together to just take in the live music. And Skillet was there. I remember going to see them one year. They were awesome. Got to see Mercy Me do I Can Only Imagine live, which I get goosebumps still thinking about it to this day. So it's really is a tragedy that they don't do it anymore. I know Universal Studios does Rock the Universe, which I've never been to, but it's very, very fond memories. A very long day. I remember not getting back home till like 3 in the morning, but it was and it was like specifically like for our youth director, I want to see your butt in church the next day. So we would all just be like fried at 9 o'clock mass, like it is well, well, we would just be fighting off sleep. But was it worth it? Absolutely, it was.
Man, that sounded like an awesome event.
Yeah, bring back Night of Joy, you cowards. But anyway, that's a story for another time. Well, I hope you have a good vacation, Jacob. I never really been much of a Dolly Parton person myself. Country, I know like little bits here and there. I never really got into it all that much, but I've always respected Dolly Parton as a musician. The songs I have heard of hers, I've heard her sing Jolene a ton of times. I mean, that's a great song. But I do genuinely hope that you have fun at the polish the polish the
Polishing the pulpit.
polishing the pulpit. Thank you. It's been a bit of a long night. I just got done co-hosting the League Cinephiles match, so it's been a lengthy night, but so my brain is running like half speed, but I will catch up, I promise. If there's nothing else you want to add, Jacob, let's dive into some stuff we've been watching lately. So over on your channel, I saw that you just posted your review for Paths of Glory, continuing your Kubrick series.
Yeah, Paths of Glory. That's actually I got it uploaded. It's actually premiering the weekend I come back from vacation. But I have seen the movie from Stanley Kubrick. It's one I've seen years ago, and it's one of the few Kubrick films I like really, really love. And I think it's just as awesome on rewatch. If you're not familiar with this story, it's a World War One story. Kirk Douglas plays one of the colonels in this battle. And what's funny to me is like it's the French army, but none of the actors are French, and so you have to roll with the fact that it's these people like Kirk Douglas and other people playing French officers. But if you can look past that and see the great performances, then yeah, the movie is awesome either way. But anyway, the film involves the suicide mission, and a lot of soldiers refuse to fight in battle. And the general is upset about that, and so he scapegoats 3 random soldiers and puts them on trial for cowardice. And so their lives are on the line, and Kirk Douglas has to defend them. And it is a very powerful look at war and how it affects different people in some ways. The general character, who's very unlikable, he's only doing the things he's doing just to get a promotion, pretty much, and he's willing to use the expense of his men to get what he wants, and he is easily the most hateable character in the whole movie. This is one of the best directed films I've seen from Stanley Kubrick. I think it was the first film where you get to see him use like the steady cam tracking shots, especially some of the scenes in the trenches. Kirk Douglas is fantastic in this movie, and the film has a very devastating ending, which says so much without saying anything at all. That's a common thing Kubrick does in a lot of his movies, leaving the audience to think. If you haven't seen the movie, I won't spoil it. It involves a woman singing in a bar. That's all I'll say. If you know, you know. But it says so much in that moment and the expressions on people's faces without Kubrick hammering in what he's trying to say with the message. And I thought it was a powerful way to end the movie. I think this is one of Stanley Kubrick's better films. I think currently it's my second favorite film of his behind The Shining.
Yeah, I've kind of seen it with your Hitchcock series. It's like Kubrick's first couple films were not so good in your opinion, but he's slowly starting to become the Kubrick that we know and love.
Yeah, Paths of Glory is definitely that one where his early films weren't that good, but Paths of Glory is really, really good. Have you seen the movie before, Ryan?
I actually have not. I've always meant to, but I just never have gotten around to it. I truly will one day. I really did catch Kubrick in like his prime, 2001, Shining and all of that. And it was like that little like slice of it is just enough to be like, this guy's one of the best to ever do it. But I will catch up on everything one of these days, however. What
Yeah,
else?
it's definitely one that I recommend for sure, especially if you love some of his later films. This was like I think the first really great film that he did that led to him, directing the 2001, The Shining, and Doctor Strangelove, and all those movies that we all love from Stanley Kubrick.
All right. Well, I also saw that you're on episode 9 of Downton Abbey. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I my episode 9 review just dropped the other day, and that is season 2, episode 2, and that is the romance focused episode of Downton Abbey. So much love is going in the balance. Like Mosley is trying to flirt with Anna after Mr. Bates left, and she doesn't want any part of that. Edith runs off. She works as a farmhand and has an affair with the farmer guy, making the wife a little jealous. And there's other like interesting romances along the way. Even Mary meets that Richard guy, the newspaper guy, starts falling for him. I think there's a little bit of a red flag in that, if I'm being honest, but we'll see where that goes. The World War I stuff is pretty interesting, especially Thomas actually working in the hospital with Sybil. I think was an interesting plot point, and it leads to one of the darkest things I've seen in Downton Abbey so far. Because there's a soldier who's blind that Thomas befriends, and he takes a liking to this character and is willing to help him. But the but there's something that comes up, and the staff's like, "Nah, he needs to be transferred for more help." When Thomas like, "No, no, no, I think we can help him here." They're like, "No, I'm sorry, we got to do our job," and that upsets the soldier that's in recovering, and he ends up taking a and I was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that in Downton Abbey. It's up there with Pamuk is probably the darkest, most shocking thing I've seen on the show so far. So it's making me wonder, since Thomas took a liking to that soldier, I wonder if this was the turning point in his character, to where instead of him wanting to help himself, he's more willing to help others. I think I'm really interested to see where that goes going forward. I think this was another good episode of Downton Abbey. A lot of great plot threads. I'm enjoying the World War I being in the backdrop, and then the whole tease of Downton Abbey being used as a hospital really intrigues me, what they're going to do with that. Actually, I've already seen episode 10 already, even though I haven't edited the video yet. That was a good episode too, where Downton Abbey is used as the hospital. I thought that was a really good episode as well.
Yeah, in terms of dark stuff, you have not seen anything yet, and I will say no more. But yeah, I wouldn't say this is the true turning point of Thomas, because there is a bit of a way to go on that one. Like I said, I won't say anything here. However, this is like it was around this point where you kind of notice that the cold heart that he has slowly starts to defrost. It's not completely defrosted, but it's like when you set out like frozen ground beef that you're going to cook later. It doesn't defrost all the way in immediately. It takes time, but it's his heart is basically like set on a counter, and it's currently defrosting, And at a certain point, I want to say in season 3, I want to say, yeah, I think it's 3. The turn becomes complete, if my memory serves me right.
All right, sounds good. I'm really looking forward to seeing that turn and to see if I actually do really like this character by the end or not. I will say the character I'm still disliking. I still don't trust O'Brien. And then I don't think I mentioned this when I mentioned the episode 1, but Bates's wife in episode 1, I hated her when she showed up and was just so cruel and was willing to like expose everything in Downton Abbey just for Bates to stay with her. I was like, oh my gosh, I see why Mr. Bates doesn't like you.
Yeah, yeah, Bates's first wife is really hard work, and again, I'm struggling so much to not say anything more because I want you to be as shocked as I was, but something happens and you're just like what a horrible woman. And again, I will say no more, but like Bates and Anna become truly like the characters I was rooting for the most because they go through just almost hell on earth. And like I said, it's hard to talk about without saying anything, but I think like that's all I can say without just outright saying it. All that I can say is that Bates and Anna, you're going to be rooting for them to give for them wholeheartedly if you're not so already.
I've been rooting for them since they had that kiss in the first season.
Oh, you're going to be rooting for them even more, especially after this season. And I will say no more after that. But anyway, what else you got?
Some other things I've watched recently. I rewatched Grease to pay my respects to Olivia Newton-John. That's a fantastic movie. Admittedly, the story has never been the movie's strongest suit. The movie does have, in my opinion, some one-dimensional characters and stereotypes of that era. But I love the movie for the 50s time capsule and taking the audience back to a different time. And what makes the movie awesome, not just the pairing of John Travolta and the late Olivia Newton John, who had fantastic chemistry in this movie, but Grease is not the awesome movie it is without the soundtrack. Without the soundtrack, Grease would be a forgettable movie. But with the soundtrack and the musical numbers, Grease is one of the most iconic movie musicals of all time. I mean, even if you haven't seen this movie, you've probably known half these songs already since they're big hits. You know, Summer Nights, You're the One That I Want, Grease Lightning, Grease is the Word, Hopelessly Devoted, all fantastic songs which do a great job of enhancing the story. Even though, like I said, the story itself is not the best, but the songs and the actors more than make up for it, and it's a very awesome achievement in musical filmmaking.
I've had a complicated relationship with Grease over the years. I liked it then. I don't want to say I hated it. I just kind of disliked it just because I didn't like how they treated the Sandy character, how she was basically like bullied into becoming, what she becomes at the end almost. I wasn't as big a fan of that, me personally. It's like there's a whole number of the whole look at me, I'm Sandra D kind of thing. And then she like just turns into it. I'm just like, I don't know if I like the direction that took. But now that I'm older and I actually when I was out in Utah visiting Rachel, we saw a local theater performance of it and they were really good. And I went in to listen to some of the songs back as well. I'm not going to lie, I've walked back my stance a bit and I have a lot more respect for it than when I did when I was a lot younger. The Grease is the word that you've heard is some of my favorite opening credits of all time. It's just the animation of that and Frankie Valli just completely crushing it, him in the Four Seasons, just owning every second of that song. So yeah, I've not liked it in the past, but as I've gotten older, I've gained a lot more respect for it. And rest in peace to Olivia Newton-John. She was she will be sorely missed. And also rest in peace to Wolfgang Peterson, who we also recently lost. So sad, sad times indeed.
Yeah. Actually, going back to what you said about Sandy's character, I think I had that mentality too several years ago. But watching it again on this rewatch, I come to the realization that that was Sandy's choice at the end to do the decision that she made. Not that she was pressured or anything. She was willing to be herself throughout the course of the movie, but she decided to make the choice at the end. I think both Danny and Sandy do make a certain change in themselves in order to make the other one happy, and that's what I got with both characters by the end of the movie. And I think that makes the final song, "You're the One That I Want," all the more rewarding in the end. It's how much they're willing to go through for each other.
Okay, yeah, I can totally see that. And like I said, when I was younger, I guess I consider myself a bit of a rebel, for lack of a better word. So I was just like, yeah, Grease isn't all that, isn't worth all the hype. But now that I'm older, I actually do have a lot of respect for it. Like I said, singing, the dancing, they're top notch. Still have trouble buying John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John as high schoolers in that movie, but both of them were supreme Townsend Travolta still is, so disbelief is suspended thoroughly.
Well, I don't think any of the actors look like teenagers, honestly. The actress who plays Rizzo, actually, she was in her 30s. Uh,
Wow. It's like these actors give the Spider-Man from 2002 actors a run for their money.
yeah. Or that guy from Dear Evan Hansen.
Oh, Jesus, don't get me started on that awful movie. But and anyway,
I had to make that joke.
do
And
you have
then I think
anything else?
the last one I wanted to share before wrapping up, my Ivan Reitman series, I covered Junior, the 1994 film,
And my condolences to you.
Arnold Schwarzenegger pregnant. Now, I've seen this movie before, and I already hated the movie. I was dreading rewatching it again for this director project. And guess what, Ryan? Not only did I hate the film again the second time, but I think it's worse on rewatch. This movie, I don't get it. The movie actually had some decent like in 94. Like Siskel and Ebert gave it 2 thumbs up. And Arnold and Emma Thompson got Golden Globe nominations. I'm like,
Wait,
how?
wait a minute. What?
I
Are
looked it
are
up.
you kidding? Oh my God. The
They
award
got Golden
shows have the award shows have always been this dumb. Who'd have thunk? I
Yes, that's not. I'm not making this up.
Emma Thompson is a really great actress. I struggle to think of anything bad that she's been in. I mean, outside of this, but and I have a lot of respect for Arnold. I mean, if you read his story, I mean, just like read his story sometime because like the man is a success story by all accounts. But wow, they both needed to fire their agents after this one because geez Louise, you have not lived until you have heard Arnold Schwarzenegger say, "My body, my choice." I'm like,
Oh my god. And this movie could have been something if the film embraced the goofiness of its premise. Like nobody can take this movie seriously. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger pregnant. But the problem is the movie's played straight. Like there's hardly any humor in it. The movie plays out like a serious drama, like you're watching somebody seriously go into labor, but with Arnold, and you can't buy it. That's the problem with this movie. I was bored. It was torture to watch. It was very uneventful. I'll give the actors credit for trying. Arnold, Danny DeVito, Emma Thompson, they're all trying, but the film does not work as a concept. And then to make matters worse, there's that infamous dream sequence where some idiot decided to impose Arnold Schwarzenegger's head on a baby. And if that doesn't give you nightmares for a week, then I don't know what you're.
Nightmares for days. Nightmares for days. Anyway, Jacob, if you don't have anything else, I think we should move on from this, or else
All right, so what have you been watching?
the demon Schwarzenegger baby will eat us. But in the TV world, I watched the finale to Better Call Saul. This has been a very long time coming, and I've made it a resolution, Jacob, and I haven't talked to you about this, so I'm saying it right here and now. After we're done with the Marvel stuff, I'm introducing you to Breaking Bad. That is next up on the list. Because now that both Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul are all wrapped up, I can definitively say that the Breaking Bad universe is one of the best ever committed to film. It doesn't matter, film, TV, books. It's one of the best of all time. And I won't spoil it if any of you watching have not seen the finale and want to see it, but it basically did what a finale should do. It basically wraps up everything that you need to know. And throughout this whole season, it's been bouncing back and forth to before Breaking Bad, some parts during Breaking Bad, and the final few episodes have been after the events of Breaking Bad, where we see Saul Goodman as his alter ego, the whole one of his last lines at the end of Breaking Bad, where he says, "I'm lucky if I'm going to be a manager of a Cinnabon in Nebraska," which is actually what ended up happening. And so everything gets wrapped up perfectly. There's not a thing where you could be like, "Oh, what about this?" No, every plot line is resolved. Emotionally is incredibly satisfying, and honestly, it's getting awards buzz now, but this show should have gotten more award buzz than it deserved. Bob Odenkirk, Rhea Seehorn, uh, Jonathan Banks, thank you, Brain, for kicking on finally. Tony Dalton. I could talk about Better Call Saul for days. I'm going to have a review of it on the channel eventually in the next couple days or so. But yeah, after we're done with all the Marvel Netflix stuff that's now on Disney Plus, Breaking Bad's where we're going. I want to be your gateway drug into this show about drugs. But yeah, the
I'm
Better
looking
Call
forward
Saul
to it.
finale. The Better Call
I'm
Saul
looking
finale was
forward to it.
awesome.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I've heard nothing but great things about it.
And then in the theaters this weekend, I ended up seeing Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. This is the latest A24 movie, and I do have a review of it now if you do want to check that out. But this is not the best thing A24 will produce this year. I have a feeling it's going to be everything everywhere all at once. But this was a fun movie. The more I thought about it, the better it has gotten. It's basically a movie kind of poking fun at this kind of social media cancel culture, like W word that rhymes with spoke, like that kind of generation trapped in a house during a hurricane, and people are getting and bodies are dropping. That's not a pun for the title. I mean, that's literally what happens. And you just put them in the pressure cooker and you just see what happens. I like that. I like the spirit of that. Pay attention to Amandla Stenberg. She's going to be a big deal going forward because she did a really good job here. Lee Pace, who most of you probably know as Ronan the Accuser from the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, he's much better here than he was in that movie. And he's ripped. Like, the dude works out. That's all I'm going to say. Pete Davidson, who I'm not sure if I'm a fan of. I just know him from, like, oh, he's dating a Kardashian. Now he's not. And just that whole gobbledygook. That's all I know him from. I know he was in this movie, The King of Staten Island, but I haven't seen it, so I can't really say. I know he's a comedian, but he was good enough in the movie. Really, you're going into this expecting a mystery, and you do get a good mystery. There is a twist, however, it's not the twist you're expecting. They do the thing where it's like, oh, obvious person who's not the murderer is blamed to be the murderer and is implied to be the murderer. And I was sitting there like, my years of watching Scooby-Doo, Where Are You, have honed my skills to know when someone is not a murderer and that person is not it. And surprisingly enough, it wasn't. But I will say no more here. I give a modest recommendation. If, like, kind of parodies of SJW teenagers just make you mad, then skip this one. But I promise it is a parody. They do make fun of these people. I give this one a modest recommendation.
Yeah, I've heard mixed things on this movie. I'm still on the fence on whether to check it out or not, but you've kind of convinced me to give it a watch one of these days.
I would definitely be interested to hear what you have to say on it. And then finally, I finally watched Nope. There were things standing in the way to where I couldn't see it, but now I finally have. This is the latest from Jordan Peele. It tells the story of Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer. They're a pair of siblings. They own this farm called Haywood Hollywood Horses, Triple H, where they license horses out for movies and commercials and all of that. And then they realize that an alien is living over their house. And that's not a spoiler. They literally show in the trailer, hey, it's aliens, which I think was a mistake, but there you go. I like this movie a lot more than I thought I was going to. Not that I was expecting it to be bad, but I was like, I've heard really good things. I hope this isn't overrated. And it actually wasn't. It was quite good. I've been a fan of Daniel Kaluuya for about a minute now, and he is really good here. I've been a fan of Keke Palmer forever, like ever since I saw her in the Disney Channel movie Jump In. I'm glad she's getting a lot of work, and she was really good here. Michael Wincott, who was top dollar in The Crow, who was actually in the Disney Three Musketeers with Chris O'Donnell. He's the dude with the eye patch. I'm forgetting his name right now, but the Cardinal is the main bad guy, played by Tim Curry. Michael Wincott plays like his right-hand man. He's the dude in black who killed D'Artagnan's father. He's that guy. And he's really good in his limited scenes. I really enjoyed this movie, like I said, but there's a part of it that I don't want to spoil it because I feel like that's one of the things where it wasn't overly explained in the marketing, meaning that it's meant to be a surprise. So I will go in generalities. But in the grand scheme of things, I didn't like what they did with a certain story arc. I felt like it was there kind of just to be there. I don't know what the purpose of it was. But like I said, it's a small problem. On the grand scheme of things, I really did enjoy this one. I'll have a full review of this eventually. And like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I haven't seen Nope yet. Just things have come up, and I haven't gotten a chance to see it. I hope to see it while it's still in theaters. I've been a fan of Jordan Peele's last two films, and I hope this one delivers as well.
All right. Well, what have you all been watching lately? Leave it in the comments. We'd love to read what you have to say. And Jacob, let's I guess get into the main event for the evening. Let's talk about Jessica Jones season 1 episode 7, aka Top Shelf Perverts. And I don't think reading any description off of IMDb can do this one justice. So I think we should just jump in. So Jessica Jones hatches a plan to throw herself in Supermax prison for Kilgrave to go in there and like it's a weird plan. And then we later learned that like Jessica Jones was adopted, and it was just a whole bunch of disturbing implications. Jacob, what did you think?
I have so much to say on this episode.
By
It
all means.
was a roller coaster of emotions. I would say this was my favorite episode of the show so far. I'm going to say that right now. It was intense from beginning to end. So many revelations. First, the whole Jessica being adopted. I was not really, I didn't see that coming from one. It makes sense why she's close with Trish because they're like sisters in a lot of ways. Then you meet Trish's mom, and she's like this like crazy demanding woman, and there's like the disturbing implications of what she's done in the past. Like apparently she gave her children drugs at a young age. I'm like, who does that? Oh, and she's like this big showbiz producing woman who's like training kids or whatever. Like she shouldn't even be around kids. She looks like a total creepo.
Yeah, she gave off serious Dance Moms energy, if any of you have ever seen that show.
Yeah. Then there's other stuff that pops in, like the opening, we see Kilgrave looting around in Jessica's apartment. That one dude shows up that's been interested in Jessica. He's like, "Hey, I got some banana bread." He's like, "What are you doing?" And then Jessica, next scene, walks in. Dude's dead on her bed. Whoa. And then that kind of like lays the groundwork for the remainder of the episode and Jessica's plan to make it look like she killed him so she can go to this high security prison as part of her plan to take on Kilgrave. It was a weird plan, like you said, Ryan. It was really weird. Like, why would you go out of your way to arrest yourself to try to trap the real person to go after you? I didn't fully get her plan, but I like the suspense and the ticking of the clock of the situation that she was in. Like Jessica was willing to do so many different things in this short amount of time before she executes her plan, and I like the determination of her spirit. Even though I didn't fully grasp what the plan was, I thought Kristen Ritter was fantastic, especially in this episode, and there was definitely a lot of like intense stuff in her performance, which I really liked, especially the interrogation scene with her and the commissioner.
Yeah, you know, when that whole thing happened and I saw Mahoney walk in and I was like, wait, I didn't know Daredevil was in this season somewhere, and he wasn't, but I like that bit of continuity there, seeing Mahoney as like Foggy and Matt's like insider in the cops. And I'm like, oh, that's a nice bit of continuity there. I actually did look it up. The mom, Dorothy Walker, is played by Rebecca De Mornay, who has been in a lot of movies. She was in Risky Business with Tom Cruise. She was in The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. She's been in a lot of stuff. And so she's one of those actresses where you're like, where have I seen you before? And then you look it up and she's been in all of those things. And you're just like, oh, wow, like you've been around. And yeah, it's like the hits just keep on coming for like Jessica and Trish. I mean, they've just had crappy lives just generally, because on the one hand, you go from this control like, and it's looking like in the next episode, aka WWJD question mark, it's looking like we're going to see what the Jones family was really like and how kind of messed up that whole thing's going to be. It was implied, but I think we're going to be seeing it in the next episode. But to go from that to just Kilgrave, who is slowly turning into just one of the most charmingly annoying people I have ever seen in television, just like, these women cannot catch a break to save their lives. They really can't.
Yeah, that final confrontation with Jessica and Kilgrave in the police station was very well done. The acting was on point for both characters, and I was literally on the edge of my seat the whole time because Kilgrave has all the cops pointing guns at each other while he's manipulating the scenes and trying to get Jessica to come back. I was like, I genuinely didn't know what was going to happen next. It was that intense of a moment, and it makes it all the more sadder the decision Jessica does make in the end, because at the end, Jessica she finds what Kilgrave left in her apartment, which was her diary, and then she ends up going to her old house. And I am excited and scared to watch the next episode because we're getting to the point where I think that point of no return to where I think we're halfway through the season at this point, and anything can happen, and I'm genuinely intrigued to see what's going to happen next. I'm also intrigued on Trish's Trish's love interest character, who's been sitting in the car the whole time investigating. He never said a word as part of him and Trish's plan. He was supposed to call back and see what he found, but he never did. Has he been controlled again? That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, and I just did the quick math. It's 13 episodes. We just watched 7, so we're well over the halfway point by this point. And you know, there's a moment in this episode where we see Kilgrave not lose control of the people, but like lose control of himself when the phone goes off, and it just pisses him off to where he's like, whose phone is that? Is like, whose phone is that? It was like, all right, this dude is evil and he is very in control, but he is not invulnerable. It's hard. It is possible. It's like what Eve said in Inception. It's perfectly possible. It's just bloody difficult. And like shout out to David Tennant. He's completely just crushing it. Like this dude, it just he doesn't get enough love. I'll dare say that Kilgrave is a completely underrated comic book villain. I hear no one talking about this performance, and it is a tragedy because he is like in every scene I've seen him in, I was just like, I want to hit you with something very hard. I don't know about you, Jacob, but that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, he has been a fantastic villain in the series so far. Very slimy, very ruthless, gets in your head, very psychologically driven. Fantastic foe for Jessica to take on. I am just blown away with the conflict in this episode and the series so far.
By the time this podcast drops, She-Hulk Attorney at Law, the first episode will have dropped, and I believe the rumor is that Jessica Jones is in this somewhere. I don't
Have to
believe,
see.
and
I don't know how she's going to fit in She-Hulk. Just the clips and trailers I'm seeing, I am not looking forward to She-Hulk, honestly.
the fan base is turning toxic, and this is a whole conversation for another time, but just the fans are just like are just been like, if you don't like this, then you've never loved the MCU. And like, I'm pretty sure that's not what they meant at all. And I have not seen it. I plan on seeing it tomorrow with better internet. I do plan on seeing it, and I have always maintained that I will make a judgment when I see it. Because trailers are trailers. I've seen good trailers to bad movies, and I've seen bad trailers to awesome movies. It's a thing that happens. I am taking a wait and see approach with the She-Hulk show. It may win me over. I've seen it happen. Who really knows? But when they made the announcement that Daredevil and Jessica Jones were going to be in this, I was just like, we have ourselves an oil and a water situation. Daredevil and Jessica Jones are very dark, gritty. They walk on a razor's edge in terms of morality. And this show just looks like a very much like, I'm the Hulk, look, and I can throw things. And it's just like the complete opposite of that in every way. Again, I'm taking a wait and see. However, that's where I sit right now.
Yeah, I'm still gonna watch it, even though I'm not that excited for it, because it'll give me something to talk about on my channel. But I just don't like what they've been doing. What I've seen the Hulk on the show and the She-Hulk character doesn't really interest me from what I've seen. I'm kind of intrigued to see what they're gonna do with Daredevil, but aside from that, like I think this could potentially be one of the worst things I've seen in the MCU. But again, we'll just have to wait and see because I'm still going to give it a slight chance, but we'll see.
Right. Well, what did you all think? What did you all think of Jessica Jones season 1, episode 7? Leave your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to read what you have to say. And that's it for another episode. Like I said, there will be no episode next week. Jacob's on vacation, but we will be back with the September preview. So looking forward to that greatly. Jacob, thank you for your patience with me and my internet issues. It is always a privilege. Tell the people where they can find you.
They can find me on Letterboxd, Twitter, and Facebook, and you can also subscribe to my 2 YouTube channels. My second channel, Storytime with Jacob, is where I do book reviews and read-alongs. I just started covering The Outsiders on my second channel, a book I've never read. I've seen the film adaptation directed by Francis Ford Coppola. This is my first time reading the book, and I'm really liking it so far. So if you want to see my read-alongs on The Outsiders, feel free to check my channel out to watch those videos. And then, of course, on my main channel is where I do movie reviews, TV reviews, ranking videos, and other fun stuff along the way. I just recently hosted a live stream with Rashad G Reviews where we ranked our top 10 80s movies. That was a fun discussion where I chatted with Rashad, who grew up in the 80s, and we just had a great time sharing our favorite 80s movies. Other videos that recently dropped on my channel. Again, I reviewed Grease to pay respects to Olivia Newton-John. I just recently reviewed episode 9 of Downton Abbey. And Junior, and then on the day this video drops, Thursday, I'm going live with Blacktastic Media, where we'll be talking about Alfred Hitchcock's 1940 film Rebecca. I'm excited to dive into that conversation and definitely give that live stream a like and share your thoughts in the live chat if you want to check that out. And then I got 2 videos that are already set for premiere when I come back from vacation, including my reviews of Lethal Weapon 4 and Paths of Glory. So those are some upcoming videos coming to the channel. I'll definitely be posting more videos when I come back from vacation. And yeah, definitely share your come to my channel if you're a fan of movie reviews and other fun stuff.